it's like the Met Gala of Western fashion. You know, everybody's dressed up. Every Western fashion client is there. My cowboy buddy was telling me about it, and he was like, "You should go with me," because he was, you know, in the rodeo. And I was like, "For sure." So I brought my camera, and I literally went booth to booth and said, "This is the content I take. My name is Kayden, and this is what I can do for you."
Yeah.
And I shook hands and I introduced myself, and they're like, "Oh, that's so awesome. Hit me up on Instagram."
Yeah.
And then I just went booth to booth all weekend long,
Yeah.
and got a ton of my first Western clients like that.
Shade isn't a place you hide. It's where you pause, where you think, where real work happens. Quietly, creatively, and authentically. No slides, no filters. Just candid conversation about a story worth telling. It's not about villains. This is where brand builders, creatives, and storytellers come to share the stories they usually don't tell in pitch decks or press releases. It's about the people who work behind the scenes, challenge the obvious, bend the rules, or build unforgettable brands. This is
Shady Characters.
Today on Shady Characters, we've got Kayden Muzila, and I'm pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
I love that, man. That's such a rad name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know if you had like the double L, like Muzilla thing going.
Yeah, so when I was in 6th grade, I ran for president at my elementary school, and my slogan was, "Vote for Kayden Muzila like Godzilla."
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of how I tell people how to pronounce my last name.
Muzilla?
Yeah, Muzilla.
Yeah.
Just like
so he's got Muzilla Creative. You also work as a creative director for some brands in some in some various capacities.
Fractional creative director. It's all through the agency, obviously, but yeah. So a lot of my clients are all in the Western world, the Western fashion, and yeah, it wasn't always Western fashion, but here we are.
Who
today.
are some of the guys you're working with?
Country Liberty, Rancher Hat Bar, Spur West.
You have found a niche in Western and Western fashion. And you do a phenomenal job at it. Like I've been constantly impressed, and I know that Raul introduced us and whatnot. But when I found your stuff, same thing with Raul, man. You guys do such a good job in that niche. But how did you find your way to that niche?
It's funny because it all started like I was working in the advertising world, and I was creative directing. And my last creative director job was I was working for film studios, right? And I was working with all the film studios, Disney Plus, Netflix, Paramount, all those guys, and a few years back, as if you guys remember, they had all those strikes that happened.
Yeah.
And not only did it hurt the actors and the screenwriters and everything, but it hurt the advertising world, you know, because they had no work to push out. So I got laid off at that advertising agency, and I kind of picked up this tech job as a creative director, and I was like, this is totally not for me. I have no clue what I'm doing.
That's the opposite side of the spectrum. For
So
sure.
opposite. But and then I eventually got laid off at that job, right? And then I was like, dang, what am I gonna do? So I was just finding time to try and being creative, right? As we do. And my buddy, who's a legit cowboy, he lives out in Norco, and he's a team roper. And I asked him one day, and I said, hey man, like, could I come and bring my camera to shoot you and like whatnot,
Doing your cool stuff,
doing stuff, doing cowboy stuff. And he's like, yeah, sure. So I took some pictures, posted it on Instagram, and it kind of took off. And these Western brands started hitting me up. And eventually I was like, okay. My buddy was telling me about this NFR in Vegas every year. And if you know what NFR is, it's like the Met Gala of
National Finals Rodeo.
I was going to say, I do not. I know what the PBR is.
It's close. So it's like the Met Gala of Western fashion. You know, everybody's dressed up. Every Western fashion client is there. And my cowboy buddy was telling me about it, and he was like, you should go with me, because he was, you know, in the rodeo. And I was like, for sure. So I brought my camera, and I literally went booth to booth and said, this is the content I take. My name is Kayden, and this is what I can do for you. And I shook hands, and I introduced myself, and, you know, I got a ton of clients like that. And it's the old school way, right? And
you just showed them on your phone?
Yeah, I just showed them my Instagram. I was like, this is what I do. This is what I could do for other clients. And they're like, oh, that's so awesome. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Instagram. And then I just went booth to booth all weekend long. And got a ton of my first Western clients like that.
So you found Western at a time that, I mean, Western's been around for a long time, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's having a moment, right? In the last decade, it's been having a moment.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you're,
for sure.
You're finding a niche in a category that is also finding its stride in a new way, and there's kind of this reestablished look around what Western is, and I think a lot of that comes from the identity that you found in some of these images, right?
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things that I really appreciate about Western is that although you describe NFR as kind of being the Met Gala of fashion for this,
Yeah.
there's so much authenticity in it, and there's so much like beauty in the grit
Yeah.
that not everyone, and yes, a lot of them are. We're putting beautiful people in beautiful settings in Western attire.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is still, these are actual team ropers that
Yeah.
that are
They're legit
living,
people,
and they've
yeah.
got the real calluses,
Yeah.
right? Like, and there's
Yeah.
something so cool and authentic about that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think from a storytelling standpoint, so much of that story is derived through like the natural authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, especially the girls there.
Yep.
They have these super glammed out fashion wear, but like they're in the dirt. And, you know,
Yeah.
they ride, they rope, they do rodeos and stuff, and it's just like cool.
It's like a punk rock girl, but in the dirt.
Yeah, I've always
Going
been
to the Grammys.
I've always been this guy that loves juxtaposition, you know, and like when I'm doing my creatives, I always contrast myself and like, okay, how can I think differently? How can I combine two things together? And the great thing about the Western and how it's risen into this modern, like popular trend is now that these other cultures are like attaching themselves to the Western, you know? So we get like rock in country, and then we get like hip hop in country, and all these like juxtaposition genres are like attaching themselves to the Western world. And I'm like, oh, I have so many ideas that I can do with this and run with this, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I'm thinking about creatives or like conceptually thinking about campaigns, you know, I'm always trying to think, what is the juxtaposition that I could do with this shot, or like juxtaposition what I could do with this campaign or strategy.
Yep. Now as a creative director role, I'm sure you got into this because you liked pressing a record button at some point. But in your role now, being a bit elevated, how are you juggling that? I have the bigger vision, but I need to have people help me execute that because I have that vision for 5 other brands, and maybe I don't have the bandwidth to to press the record button for all 5 of those anymore, right?
It's been kind of a journey, you know, because when I was in the advertising world, I skipped the record button. You know, I wasn't a hands-on camera guy. I was just straight to director role, and I was, you know, directing the campaigns and photo shoots and whatnot. And then I started my own agency. And then when you start your own agency, you're kind of wearing all the hats in the beginning, you know? So that's when I physically picked up the camera. And
Had you done that before in school, or was that part of your education, or was the
No,
education
no,
more
no.
the concepting? And
the school side was all design, graphic design, Photoshop, Illustrator, and design stuff, you know? And then, you know, outside of school, you know, I'd have a buddy say, oh, look, this is how you do this on a camera. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, being on the photo shoots and like directing the shoots, you know, I would learn lighting. I would learn, you know, the technical, like mood board side of it, the pre-production process of it, and the post-production. But like, I was never physically on the camera until I started my own agency. And then it was just like run and gun, you know? I've seen this meme where it's like, how an entrepreneur is, and it's a fighter jet guy. He's in the pilot seat, and he's like reading a book, how to be a fighter jet pilot. And I was like, yeah, that's totally me. You know?
I feel like that's the same with any job, though. And I had people tell me that it's like, even if you're like a marketing director trying to go to a marketing VP, that guy doesn't know how to do that job. You just take the job and you figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm the, you know, and it's all stems to graphic design. And when I first got my graphic design job, it's like, why am I being hired? It's to solve a problem, right? Through creative solution, right? And no matter what kind of creative job title I have, like motion designer, graphic designer, creative director, I'm solving a problem creatively, right?
Yep. You probably fall into this bucket, but Sometimes clients come to you and they've got something that's fully in your wheelhouse, and you go, yep, that's why you're coming to me. I'm great at doing that thing. And then they go, we also want you to do this thing way over here. And while that might not be in your wheelhouse, you go, yeah, of course I can do that, because Google University helps me figure out any of these problems. And I'm not going to turn that thing down because I want to have my thumbprint on that too. And it gives you an excuse to learn a new skill set, right? So, I mean, that's how a lot of the skills we learn in this trade, I feel like, come to be, is someone challenges you with something that's outside of your comfort zone, and you figure it out and you become, oh, that's amazing. I'm good at this now.
Oh yeah. I'm such a yes man, dude.
Yeah.
I will say yes to any challenge, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I am so disciplined, and I know I have a great work ethic that I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah. We talk about discipline, and we talked a little bit about kind of your discipline with figuring out how to be an early morning person, which a lot of people are probably it's gonna be a major takeaway from this episode, is like, I need to figure out how to do that, because so many people are unsuccessful being disciplined with simply that thing. But what has driven you to feel so disciplined in your life in all those different capacities?
Yeah, I think it started with sobriety.
Yeah.
I was such in a hopeless state that I was so willing to do anything, and how my, sobriety started. I started drinking when I was 12 years old. And once I was 18, I started getting into the harder stuff of, the party life, and, started hanging out with the wrong crowds. And, once the shame and guilt, came into play, the drugs and alcohol weren't enough anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to find different outlets, and the outlets started to be like self-harming. I started self-harming a ton, and then towards the end of my drinking career, I had 4 suicides, 2 overdoses, and my liver was failing. So it was absolute hopelessness that I needed to find in order to be disciplined in my daily life today.
Yeah.
It's
not lost on me that sounds kind of like a country song.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a song out there.
Yeah. So
have you thought about playing music?
I mess around with the guitar. That's about it.
We have a Hoobastank guitar over here if you ever want to play it.
Yes.
I pointed out in about 9 out of 10 shows.
So we found this sense of resilience, right? You found a new reason for being, and that's what added to the feeling of adding discipline in your life. Yeah.
And still to this day, it's like I didn't get myself sober. I tried to get sober at 18. I tried to get sober at 20. And there was no way my own will could do that, right? And but one day, on my last day of drinking, it was just like, snap. And God took away my obsession of alcohol and drugs. And
did you go? I guess, quitting something like smoking is hard enough, but to quit all that has got to be like, oh man, that's really hard. Did you have to go to like a rehab, or were you able to do it on your own?
I didn't go to rehab, but I sought out help like the day after. And for the first couple months, I was just listening, and I was calling people and asking for help. And in order to make any accomplishment, I needed to take action, right? And like really do the self-improvement part of things. And that's when I kind of understood where discipline comes and being resilient, because my mind is so chaotic, and I wake up, I think to myself that I wake up every day and my mind's trying to get me alone and kill me constantly, because I have an addiction, right? But if I put God first in my life, because he removed this obsession from me, I'm going to be okay today. Yeah. And I have to do that every day. Yeah. Right. So that's my number one priority.
You used the term earlier, and you said the country, the style of country has really risen. Yeah. And I think that your role in that world has really risen, but you're giving it up to God
Yeah.
because he's risen, right?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
beautiful, right? I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
kind of beautiful.
It all
Yeah.
kind of attaches, and
Yeah.
I think God is perfect timing and perfect.
Yeah.
He knows everything, and I tell this story a lot. It's like, okay, why didn't God come out after my first attempt or my second attempt or my
Yeah.
third attempt, right? He knew that what I needed. He
Mm-hmm.
knew exactly what I needed before I would absolutely surrender and be absolutely hopeless, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that I also find beautiful out of this story, and I heard a little bit about this story before we were chatting here, is that you had this sense, and I'm not correct me here if I'm paraphrasing incorrectly, but you had this sense of limited capability in that old life, and since you have found this new life, and it's a life filled with God, it's a life filled with discipline, it's a life filled with having your own creative agency.
Yeah.
You've kind of found this unlimited capacity or unlimited capability, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
talk to me about kind of what that feels, because it almost feels to me like you kind of have this pre-Kayden and post-Kayden
Yeah.
thing happening, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And now that we're post-Kayden, like the world is our oyster, right?
Yeah.
And that's got to be an amazing feeling. Talk to me a little bit about that.
There were so many things that I would do as a drunk that I thought I was so amazing at. I thought I was so good
Playing
at.
pool,
Yeah.
picking up chicks.
Yeah, I thought I was so good at that. And one thing back at Inova, they gave me 3 monitors, and when I was graphic designing there, and I remember like I'd be designing one thing on one monitor. I would have like a YouTube lesson on another monitor, and then like
I'd be gambling on the third.
yeah, and then something else going on the third monitor, and I thought I was like so cool because I was like the biggest multitasker.
Yeah.
I can't multitask at all, So, this level of like, not cockiness, but like, what's the word? Just oblivious, to what I was doing, and the bar I set for myself as a drunk was so low, and now it's the sky's the limit. I can only do what God wants me to do,
Yeah.
right? What is that? What is that purpose? And fear is a huge part of this too, and when I was a drunk, I was so fearful to like talk to people, to learn advice from other people, to get mentors and everything, learn wisdom, and now fear is irrelevant, right? Because the only thing I fear is the Lord, right? And there's so many things that I have accomplished just because I asked somebody,
Yeah.
and not having any fear about asking.
That is profound to be able to say that, fear is an inhibitor, and living without fear has given you the confidence to
Excel.
to be able to excel, right? That's amazing.
Yeah. And I think that's for a lot of people out there. It's like
Absolutely.
you cap yourself when you're so fear-based.
Yep.
And
you probably stay in your comfort zone. You stay in your lane a little bit. You maybe don't explore something, even though you maybe have an inclination or a passion towards it, but that's not the safe route, right? And so fear will keep you in that safe lane, which maybe keeps you more limited.
Yeah. And as creatives, and campaigns and strategies, it's the same thing. Like the biggest campaigns that weren't afraid to stay in their little box have had the biggest transitions.
Yeah. Who are the brands that you look up to as doing a great job in this? Are there inspirational brands or campaigns that stand out to you as like, man, they nailed that, or man, I wish I had clients that would allow me the creative freedom to do some of these types of things?
Yeah, one of the and this is a big brand, but Liquid Death.
Oh yeah,
they did such an awesome job, and
I feel like those guys are fearless. Like
pretty much all their stuff is
care
awesome.
About backlash.
They didn't care about it, and look at what happens when you didn't care.
Yeah,
you didn't care what other people think.
Yep.
And the funny thing is, like, with having an agency, being a founder, whatever it may be, in the new like society of social media, you have to be presentable on the internet. You know, you have to create content for yourself to, you know, grow more clients. And, you know, that was another fear attachment.
Sure.
I had to push out content of myself. And in the beginning, it was so cringy, man.
Yeah.
It was so cringy to like put these videos out, and my old buddies, you know, saying how cringy it is and making fun of me. But hey, man,
We all start somewhere, right?
we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And guess what?
You're
I got
gonna
of
see
it.
who's gonna get the last laugh. Watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I will get the last laugh.
Yeah.
And I have been, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so there's other companies out there, you know. I feel like everybody references Nike, but like they're so stuck in their lane, you know. They just do the same stuff, you know.
I love the Yeti storytelling stuff. I think they do such a fun job of storytelling.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the product is so secondary to what the story is, right? The story is about this guy and his hunting dog and this amazing journey that they have, and like maybe you see one shot where he opens the tailgate of his truck and there's a Yeti cooler when he's tossing his stuff in the back. And you're like, I think it's so beautiful that they've recognized that it's not product first necessarily in those pieces. And it's about these amazing stories, and they make you want to stay for 8-10 minutes, which is unheard of in this world of 3-second clicks, you know? And that's so cool.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the stuff that I'm pushing out with my clients, you know. It's story-driven content, you know. Micro shorts is like the trendy word to call them, you know. So, and there's so many brands that I work with, like this one supplement company. It's a men's supplement, and it's called Attaboy. Super, super cool name. And it's a supplement brand. It has like creatine, electrolytes, a bunch of supplements in it. And, you know, what I've been doing, it's all blue-collar guys. And shooting their life, you know. It's like family stuff, and then they're Harley guys, or they're cowboys, or they're fishermen, but it's zero product. You know. It's just lifestyle. And that's kind of what it
Like
needs.
these
to
are
be.
our people. Yeah.
These are our people.
And this is the lifestyle you can live if you're actually paying attention to your health, maybe a little bit, right?
Exactly. The discipline of like those guys, because the people, the strategy is those guys have to do the same thing every day, right? Like a cowboy has to wake up every morning, you know,
Probably at 4 a.m.
4 a.m. You know, wrangle the cows, you know, do whatever he needs to be. The fisherman gets up really early. He has to go out and fish, you know. The hunters, like we did some bow hunters, they got to get up early.
So can I take a wild guess and say that that the morning light is your favorite time of day to shoot versus afternoon?
You know what? Actually, maybe not.
Okay. All right.
Maybe now that I think about it, but I feel like I haven't done too many early morning shoots, but
well, early mornings for the Lord, right? So
He's kind of like Sean Penn in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. He just sits out there with his coffee and enjoys
That's
the
exactly
sunrise.
what
he
it is.
enjoys the early morning, but he
That's what
works
it
in
is.
the evening. Yeah, I like it.
No pictures. You're just gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
So you said you drink your coffee black, so you're a lot manlier than I am already, which I'm not afraid to admit.
He's a venti iced vanilla latte.
As long as it's got something sweet,
Oh god.
with whipped cream.
Okay.
there's no whipped cream. It's just
And a
cold.
cherry
It's
on
cold.
top.
It's cold foam.
Cold
Okay.
foam.
Anyways, I am a basic white girl when it comes to my coffee, and I admire you for being able to drink your coffee black. Since you get up so early and you live this cowboy lifestyle, do you ever make a cowboy coffee?
What is that? Like
So
a
cowboy
pouch?
coffee is, and I learned about this recently. You'll cook it over a fire. There's like the little, I don't know, it looks like a little cauldron or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's actually just the coarse grounds in it,
Okay.
and then you'll strain them, right? But you strain them through, I don't know, you strain them through a strainer, but I think that in general, a cowboy coffee might be a little grittier than a normal coffee because it's been hand strained over
I was
a
just
campfire.
gonna make a joke and saying he's probably so cool. He's the guy that cooks it in the pot.
Yeah.
But that's the cowboy coffee. I
Yeah,
had no idea
yeah.
that there was a name for it.
Yeah, cowboy coffee. I mean, it's what you would make if you were out, you're on a pass or whatever. I
my
didn't know if that was something
assumption-
in your world.
My assumption was they would just get the grounds and just
They throw
put
it in there like
a
instead of dip.
That's
Switch
what
it
I
around
thought
like
you were
a
gonna
swig
say.
of water.
Goes straight to the system
Yeah,
that way.
that's what I thought.
You get it fast that way. Yeah.
But
Imagine somebody
unfortunately,
could make a snooze pouch of coffee and you just put hot
I mean,
water in your
there's
mouth
gotta
and
be something
swirl
out
it
there.
around.
yeah,
for that.
a little caffeine pouch.
Yeah. What celebrity would we have be our influencer for that? If that was the
Sam.
Oh yeah. What's his name? He's got the great voice.
Yeah, it's
Oh, Sam Elliott.
Sam
Sam
Elliott.
Elliott.
Yeah,
There you
he'd
go.
be a
He
good
would
one
be
for that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been watching him in Landman.
So good.
He's so good. Yeah.
I haven't watched any of those.
Yeah,
shows.
those are fun.
You got to watch. That's a great series.
And it's funny because like everybody, you know, they see me and they're like, "Oh, have you watched Yellowstone?" And I'm like, "No, I actually haven't." You know?
I live Yellowstone.
Sorry, I don't have time
Far
for that.
from that.
I was too busy working.
Yeah, too busy working. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we've talked a bit about how you've gotten to where you're at now, but if we look at Kayden 2.0 here as being unlimited or limitless, where is the future for Muzilla Creative?
To constantly scale.
Yeah.
You know, and bringing up the fear topic, one of the things I did recently was I reached out to one of my old agency owners.
Yep.
Because not fearful anymore. And I said, "Hey, man, I want to pick your brain. I want to learn about what it takes to run an agency like you know?" And he said, "Make it big, but keep it small. You know, scale it big, but keep it small." And that's exactly what I want to do with that.
Yeah.
You know?
So small is a mindset rather than an actual size. Then in that in that analogy.
like the employees
Yeah.
of Muzilla
Okay.
Creative to
Yep.
keep it small,
Yep.
but you know, have the clientele big.
Yep.
And you know, outsource when you need to.
Yep.
So that's the kind of strategy behind that. Is
Yeah.
like the sky's the limit, and
Yeah.
I want to go as big as possible. You know, but there's so many other little things that I want to do that I'm kind of hinting at on my personal like Instagram
Cool.
and like my personal audience. I don't know if I want to say it.
Are we going to
yet.
get an exclusive right now?
Shady Characters exclusive.
I don't know. I want to possibly start a clothing line here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah. Streetwear, Western fashion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a background in that, or you just have always had an interest in that?
So, working with all my clients,
Yeah.
they are all Western fashion. They're somewhat in the fashion industry. You know, I've learned how
that works.
how that works.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what kind of strategies to do with clothing
Yeah.
launches and
Yeah.
how to you know, do a pre-sale before and
Would there be a competitive, like
Yeah, there's
some kind of non-compete with your clients then with that, or how
Maybe.
would that work? Yeah.
maybe.
Are there brands that that you would love to work with one day? And I think through like, you know, the Stetsons of the world, are there brands out there that are like, that would be a cool brand one day to do some work with?
Yeah. There's a ton, like Boot Barn, obviously.
They're just right here, aren't they?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
local.
they're
Yeah.
right here. But as much as I love the Western world, you know, I'm trying to
Okay.
not get out of it,
Yep.
but like expand more.
Expand, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Eventually, like everything, it goes from like rock music to hip hop music to whatever. Now,
Yeah.
this is like Western's time, but it's not going to be forever. Yeah. So you've got to
Yeah.
be able to kind of, when that slows down, you still have to be able to have some
Yeah,
longevity.
And I think it will, like I was talking about earlier, is like all these other genres are attaching to it.
Yep.
Which is what it'll make it stay for a while. But one of those genres are going to surpass it a little bit.
Without a doubt.
And I have a theory. Here's your another shady
Characters exclusive.
It's time for the big rock comeback.
punk.
Punk comeback.
time for a big rock
guessing,
comeback. It is.
I'm guessing punk
Yeah.
will be next. So I've been thinking about like some cool concepts on like mixing a Western punk thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very cool. How much of your time is spent on client work versus kind of coming up with these spec creatives and shooting some of that stuff?
A lot less now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when I was first starting, I kind of told myself like, hey, let's do one creative shoot a month, you know, and that's been turned down a lot.
Yeah.
But as much as I scale more and more, but you know, I think that's the bread and butter to all creatives,
Yeah.
that they need something personal and like passion project constantly.
Sure.
You know, to push.
Also allows you to hone skills in something
Yeah.
that maybe doesn't have as high a stakes around it, right? You
Yeah.
can,
Yeah,
you can
experiment
try
with-
things, experiment things, and
Yeah.
like if it doesn't turn out 100%, you're like, well, at least it wasn't for a paying client, and I
Yeah.
can figure out how when a paying client wants me to do that thing, now I know what not to do, maybe. And
Yeah, exactly. And that's like another fear topic, right? You know, when you don't have any like budgets or restrictions,
Yeah.
you're like the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
You know, let's send it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the shoots I did last year was I had this idea because I was driving on the freeway and all of those poppy flowers,
yeah,
the
yeah,
yellow
yeah.
flowers,
Uh-huh.
were all you know, covering the hills,
Doing
and I
the
was like,
super bloom thing
yeah,
or
the
whatever.
super bloom.
Yeah.
And I
uh-huh.
was like thinking, I gotta do a shoot there, but I gotta do something cool, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought of this concept of let me get a tattoo shop out there
Oh, okay.
and let's do like a mock tattoo parlor in the middle of the fields there. And I did that shoot, and a ton of brands hit me up
Yeah.
after that. They're like, dude, that was awesome,
Yeah.
man. I love the juxtaposition. Like,
Yeah.
I love that contrast, and you know, putting something pretty with like this hard, rugged, like punk rock girls
Sure.
and tattoo artists, you
Sure.
know, like in the middle of the field. And I also got it tattooed in the
Yeah.
middle field.
How
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you get a California poppy?
I got a gun with a poppy
Yeah,
flower coming
cool.
out. Yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool.
A little
Where do you
wolf
find inspiration? I mean, obviously you have a lot of ink here. Where do you? Is there a style, a genre, something you look for?
I mean, the traditional
Yeah.
for sure has been always my first take, but every time I go to a tattoo shop, I have no idea what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no idea what
Yeah,
I'm
me
getting.
neither.
Yeah, I can see you're covered up. Yeah, funny story. I have a big wolf on my chest, right? And this is back in my drunk days, and my tattoo artist wanted to.
I think
do,
we're gonna have to do his intro video shirtless just to see the
Yeah.
Just to see the wolf.
It's all it's the whole front is all covered now. But yeah, so I asked my tattoo artist, he wanted to do a tattoo party at my house, so we were drinking all day.
Yeah.
And I told him in the beginning of the day, I was like, "Yo, I want a deer on my chest." And he's like, "Yo, I got you, man. Don't you worry about it." And then it's tattoo time. We've been drinking all day. And he starts tattooing, and I go look in the mirror, and I'm like, "That's not a deer." He's like, "You wanted a deer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, my bad, dude."
No way.
Yeah, it's straight up. And I was like, "All right, well, we started already,
Yeah.
so let's
We're
just
gonna
do
finish it out. It's
Yeah.
a wolf now.
The real one-man wolf pack.
So does your wolf still have antlers then? Like you made a hybrid animal here?
I'm glad we just.
It could have gone down that
we
path.
Could have
though.
gone down that path. That would have been really
really-
weird. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, every tattoo I just walked in and was
Yeah.
like, I want to get something,
Yeah. So so you don't have allegiance to one artist that's done everything or a full sleeve or anything.
No,
It's kind of yeah.
I mean, one of my good friends who did my chest. I mean, he's probably done maybe 80% of my
Okay.
tattoos. So yeah, I would lean to him.
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Like I was having this conversation. Though I don't know if it's the older I get or how I deal with stress or whatever. I don't want to get tattooed anymore. I think when I was younger, I was like, oh, I like the pain. I like getting tattooed. That's probably like why I'm all covered. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't know. I'm good.
Are you
know?
saying that you fear the needle?
Yeah, probably. I have this huge back
You
piece.
got
I'm
enough,
working
man.
on. Yeah, I have this huge back piece I'm working on right now, and I've been procrastinating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hardcore.
Going back for the shading is going to be really fun.
It's-
That's where you're at. Yeah,
yeah,
everything's
it's-
outlined, and now it's going to be the fun part, the
Well,
spicy
we've already done the shading
Okay,
a bit, but
yeah.
like I'm dreading it. you
Yeah.
know? I'm good. But I'll figure it out one day.
part. Yeah, yeah. So you don't have aspirations of covering every inch or anything like that? It sounds like you've got a lot covered.
I think I'm
Yeah.
done after I finish this back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure my mom will finally be very
Yeah.
happy.
Did you ever get your deer anywhere else? Did he go, oh, I'm going to put your deer on your knee? Oh,
There
okay.
it is.
Yeah. All right.
Is that in a special place just for him?
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey man, it's been so awesome having you in and chatting with you here. It's been really cool to hear about your creative process, and I'm so happy for your success and Kayden 2.0 here and what that has kind of allowed you to do. It's been really cool to see your work evolve over that process as well. I just want to say thanks for coming in and spending some time with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Dude. I love the place.
Is there anything that we can plug for you here while we got you on?
You can plug my Instagram. It's Chaos. It's not spelled like chaos. It's KAYHAOS. And my website's on there. My website's muzillacreative.com. And yeah, it's a ton of exciting things we're doing this year, and we're scaling large and fast, and whatever the Lord has for us, dude.
That's good, man.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, thanks again, and till next time, see ya.
So we were launching celebrity e-com brands, and
What are Good American, like that kind of stuff?
yeah,
Or-
exactly,
Okay.
right. So we would develop a product and then attach it to a celebrity, right?
Gotcha.
And we would create these formal pitch decks, and then we would execute strategy and social media.
Are you telling me that these celebrities don't come up with these things organically on their
I'm
own?
so sorry.
They are not product experts.
Yeah, and you know what's even worse is
Kim
they
Kardashian is not a product director for Spanx.
Yeah, no, and they hardly work on the product
Yeah.
too. So, as much as it looks like they're working, they're not.
But there's no way that they collect a bigger check than you do for doing all the work, right?
oh, dude, the checks are way big for them.